Everyone keeps telling you that local models are useless at real coding. You download one, you plug it into Claude Code, and then everything falls apart. Here's what no one tells you. It's not the model, it's the harness. The moment you open Claude Code, it stuffs about 20,000 tokens into the context window before you've sent a single message. And you have no control over this, by the way. This is Anthropic system prompt and the internal tools for the Claude Code harness. This does not include MCP or skills. The solution is to run these free local models in a lean harness. And in this video, we will have a look at the Pi Agent SDK. I'm going to show you a workflow that you can follow to reliably build software using these free models. Keep in mind that these models are running on your own hardware, so they get loaded into your VRAM, and they can only accommodate so many tokens. These are usually around 120,000 tokens, and on the larger end going up to about 200,000 tokens. Now, the problem is if you're using a harness like Claude Code that automatically uses like 20 to 30,000 tokens, you're really quickly going to reach the dumb zone. Now, all models struggle with this, including the flagship models from Anthropic and OpenAI. When you reach a certain threshold of the context window, the model's intelligence and quality will start to degrade. This is usually around the 50 to 70% mark. That's why it's recommended to always keep the instructions within a session as tight and to the point as possible. You really don't want to go anywhere exceeding your context window. Now, for a free model with only about 120,000 tokens, we really can't afford to burn 30% of that with only the Claude Code harness. And here's another thing that's really important when it comes to using free models. They can get confused and overwhelmed really quickly. They simply don't have the tool calling and reasoning capabilities of flagship models. And since harnesses like Claude Code contain a lot of tools, these agents will get super confused and actually just don't know what to do. So the idea here is to go for a lean harness like the Pi Agent SDK or even Open Code, which I covered in a previous video. These harnesses inject the minimum amount of tools required for the coding agents. And for the Pi Agent SDK specifically, this includes very few tools actually. It only allows the agent to kind of look up and make changes to files in a specific folder. Natively, it does not support MCP, skills, web search, and other tools that might bloat the context window. However, you can easily add all of these capabilities yourself using their plugin marketplace. But the idea with the Pi Agent SDK is to give you a fast and lean harness, and then you can decide what bloat you want to add on top of it. To get started, let's set up the Pi Agent SDK. Simply go to pi.dev, and to install this agent, simply select npm, copy this command, then simply open up Command Prompt or PowerShell or the terminal, whatever you're using, and run this command. Alright, once that's done, we can check if everything is working by running the command pi. And by that point, you should be able to see this chat interface. Now, in order to run a model locally on our machine, what we'll do is install Ollama. So simply go to ollama.com, then click on Download Ollama, select your operating system, and then download and install Ollama. After installing Ollama, you can simply open up your command prompt or terminal and run the command Ollama. And if you get this menu, it means that everything worked. And now all we have to do is download a model. We can just go to Models. What I recommend you do is go to ChatGPT or something like Claude and to get it to do some research into what models it thinks you can run on your machine. I'm a massive fan of Qwen 3.6, and I really think this is the best coding model that you can run on your hardware right now. This does come in two flavors. It's got a 27 billion parameter model, and you'll need about 16 gig of VRAM to run this model, or the 35 billion parameter model, which will need about 24 gig of VRAM. All you have to do is copy the model name, then back in command prompt, run the command Ollama pool, followed by that model name. So to test it, all you have to do is run the command Ollama run followed by the model name. And let's send the message like, hey, and now we can see that model's response streaming in, so this is working. But for this section, I'm going to open up VS Code in a blank project folder. From here, I'm just going to open up my terminal, and let's run the command pi. Alright, so to set up new providers and models, what we can do is run the command /model. Now for you, this might not show any models, but if you have signed into your system using something like Gemini or Codex or Claude Code, you might see some models in this list already. Now, of course, we want to run local models. Now, this is the only step in the video that might feel a little bit technical, but just follow along, it's actually not that bad. In the root of your machine, so if you are using Windows, this will be in your users folder, there's this .py folder. Within that folder, there's this subfolder called agent, and within that folder, there's this file called models.json. If this file doesn't exist, you can simply create it yourself. To make it a little bit easier to view, I'm just going to open this folder in VS Code. Now, your models.json file will be empty. And what you have to do to add models from Ollama or even LM Studio, if you prefer to use that for local inference, you have to add this configuration. So if you ever add more models, all you have to do is come back to this file, and then within this models array, we can actually just copy this entry and then give it the name of whatever other model we want to make available as well. The same thing for LM Studio. If you've got LM Studio on your machine and you want to add more models, it really is this simple. Just kind of change the model name, and that's really it. You can also download my file from the description of this video. I'll link it to my free community. All I have to do in Pi is run the command /model, and then I can search for Qwen 3.6. So because I've configured it in both Ollama and LM Studio, I see two entries here. Let's just go with Ollama, and then let's say, hey, and if everything was set up correctly, you should receive a response from the model. If you ever want to clear a conversation, you can just run the command /new. This will clear the context window and start you off with a new session. And if you ever wanted to quit out of the Pi coding agent, just run the command /quit. And there you go. The Pi coding agent also supports memory files. So in the project root, let's create an agents.md file. And now we can set any project rules that we want, like respond like a pirate. Cool. Now if we run the Pi coding agent, let's say, hey, and indeed our agent is responding like a pirate. But of course, let's add something a bit more useful to this file. For example, user interface and styling. And then let's add a rule like always use this design system. And then I'm going to add tag a file called design.md. This also means in the root of my project, I'm going to create this file, and it's this file that's going to contain our design system, like the typography, the colors, the padding, the roundedness of the borders, everything that we need for our website. So if you are building websites for clients using this, it's a good idea to kind of get this information from your clients and then store that in your design system or in this design.md file. And by the way, if you are new to creating design systems, I've got a full course just on design systems, from the fundamentals of creating a design system to using platforms like Stitch and Claude Design, and even creating a design system enforcer that will ensure that your project follows the design system no matter how big it is or if it's a brownfield project. You can find this course in Agentic Labs, which I'll link to in the description. And what we can do now is pull in this design.md file. So if you ever wanted to reference a file in the project, you can just kind of drag and drop it in, or alternatively in the chat, you can add tag files as well, like so. Then let's say, please create a design system for a restaurant. And if you've ever used Claude Code with the Pi agent, you will notice a difference immediately. Because this harness is so lean, the agent is just blazingly fast. And done. So what we can do is actually just have a look at the design system and change anything that we don't need. And keep in mind that we are tagging this design system in the memory file, so the agent should actually use this. So let's create a new session. And let's say, please create a landing page for a restaurant called the Oak and Barrel. And check this out. So the agent is saying, I now have a thorough understanding of the full design system. So let's set up that landing page. All right, the agent is done. And this is what our design system currently looks like. So this is not bad, and we can easily make any changes that we want to this. And it even includes these little animations when moving around on the page. Alright, so these local models are not really great at coming up with proper design systems. They just don't have that creativity in them. So one tip I will give to you is to use something like Dribble, where you can search for a template, find something that you like. Then what you can do is copy this image and use something like ChatGPT or Claude to create a design system based on that image. What you can do then is download the design file from ChatGPT or Claude. Another really cool free alternative is Google Stitch. So what we can do is simply paste in the image there and it's say, please create a design system from this image. We can select web, let's select Thinking with 3.1 Pro and send this. And now this agent will also create a design system for us, which would look something like this. And what we can do now is right click this, click on download, and then we can move that design.md file to our project folder. So that gives you a few ways to kind of approach the design system. So if your designer gave you a screenshot, simply put it into Google Stitch and get it to generate a design system for you. Right, now that we've set up our project folder and we've got our design system bedded down, the next thing we might want to do is install skills or MCP servers. Now, by default, the Pi Agent SDK does not support any of that out of the box. Watch this. What is the latest news from OpenAI? If you're used to using Claude Code or Codex, these models will simply just call a web search tool and, access the internet for you. But with the Pi coding agent, it says I don't have real-time internet access. And that is by design. The Pi coding agent harness is lean by default, and then you can add your own extensions by going to packages. And from here, we can actually just filter by the most downloaded, and you'll see extensions for pretty much anything, like Pi Web Access, Pi Sub-Agents, the Pi MCP adapter, which will allow your agent to actually call MCP tools. So let's say we wanted to give our agent access to the web. We can simply go to Pi Web Access, copy this command, then back in the terminal, just run that installation command. And now if we go back to our agent, I'll just start a new session. What is the latest news from OpenAI? This time it does have access to a search tool, and it even opens up this web page. How cool is that? So we get a little bit of a research document over here. We can, tick approve if we wanted to. Now again, we want to keep things lean, so I'm not going to worry about skills or MCP tools. What I do recommend you create at this stage is a detailed implementation plan for your website. And this is where I need to give you a really important caveat. This implementation plan is the most important part of this entire workflow. If your plan is crap, then the output is going to be crap. In fact, with a really detailed plan, you can use a super crap model and still get really good results. So this is where I'm going to tell you that instead of using a local model, rather use something like Claude or ChatGPT, even on their free plans, to generate the plan for you. So in ChatGPT, we can just do something like this. Please create a detailed implementation plan. The plan needs to contain a logical sequence of features that developers can implement one at a time to achieve the final result. It should be detailed enough for a junior developer to achieve the desired result. Return this as Markdown. And now I'll just detail the website that I'm trying to build. This is a website for a restaurant called the Oak and Barrel. They specialize in steaks, burgers, wine, and craft beer. Alright, let's send this. Right, now we can take this super detailed implementation plan, and back in our project, I'm just going to create a folder called plans. Then in there, I'll create a file called implementationplan.md. And you will notice this is a huge file with 1,364 lines. Now that we have this plan, you might be tempted to actually just drop this into the chat and ask the agent to implement it. But keep in mind what we mentioned at the start of the video with regards to the dumb zone. Because this file is so large, it's far going to exceed the context window of this agent. So instead, what we'll do is this. We'll pull in this file, then I'll add a prompt like, I need you to split this large implementation file up into individual features. The features should follow a logical sequence, for example, 0, 1 foundation, etc. A developer should be able to build the entire solution by implementing the features in order. Carefully consider the dependencies between features. All right, then let's run this. So what this is going to do for us is actually split this massive implementation plan up into smaller chunks that we can actually work with. So at this point, the agent created all of these individual files that we can implement in sequence to build our entire website. So now the implementation becomes super easy. We can clear the context window, pull in the first file, and simply say, implement this. And once that one's done, we can clear the session, pull in the next one, and say, please implement this feature, and hit send this. And I'll just keep doing this until all of the changes have been implemented. Now, while I'm busy with this, I do want to mention that if you don't want to just do everything manually, like how I'm doing it now, Pi does have a goal extension that you can install. So if you're used to Claude Code or Codex's goal commands, you can set that up in Pi as well. Now, personally, I would not recommend this for small models because the main thread is still going to fill up very quickly. Instead, rather focus on implementing and testing one feature at a time. Alright, so we're on step 15, which involves downloading images from pixels, so stock images. And this is why we installed that web search functionality earlier, is so that our agent can actually use a web search tool to look up images on pixels. And now Pi is downloading those images as well. So if you want, you can just download images yourself from pixels. So I just searched up for burgers or restaurants or whatever, and then you can just download an image from here. So you can click on an image, find the resolution that would work for your website and simply download it, and then add it back into your project and just tell your agent to use that image. Right, so apparently our agent is done, and this is what we came up with. So we've got our top navigation up here. If we go into mobile view, this is indeed responsive. So we can see that these buttons over here, they do go on top of each other at sort of mobile views. And we can also see that the top menu up here does change into a burger menu when we go into smaller screen sizes. Also, if we scroll down, we've got all of these little stock images. It's a super clean design with little animations, and everything does seem to work. Let's click on View Full Menu, which takes us to the actual menu. And here we can see all the items with the prices. We can also click on these buttons to actually filter out on very specific items. And of course, we can keep improving this app by following the exact same workflow. If there's something specific we want to implement, we can come up with the implementation plan for it, split it up into features, and then pass those individual features over to the agent. And we can keep refining this app for free using a local model on our own machines. Now, I'm actually just going to move on to the next step, which is deploying this website to the web. Now, there are plenty of hosting companies out there, but I like to use Hostinger as it's very affordable, it's very reliable, and it's super easy to set up. So I'll share a link to this page in the description if you are interested in following along and you're trying to build websites for clients. You can host up to 50 websites on this plan, or if you upgrade to this plan, you can host up to 100 websites. And they also give you a free domain for the first year. So all we have to do is choose our plan, then let's select our term, and at this point we can enter any domain that we want. So I'll select something like oakenbarrelpi.com, and as you can see, the domain will be free for the first year. Now, I'm not going to waste my domain on this, so I'm just going to remove it. But here's a little bonus for you guys. If you go to coupon code and you enter Leon Hosting, this will give you an additional 10% off. So all we have to do then is click on continue and complete the checkout process. Then from your Hostinger dashboard, simply go to websites and click on add website. And then we'll select custom PHP and HTML website. If you decided to use Next.js or React, just select Node.js. Since we kept it very simple, let's select HTML. Now this is where we can enter a domain. If we wanted to register a custom domain, I'll just go with a temporary domain. Then from this menu, let's go to website. Let's select migrate website and let's click on migrate website. From this page, select upload backup files. Let's click next. And now we have to upload our website files. Now the easiest way I think to do this is just to open this folder in Explorer. So I'm simply going to pull up our folder. Now this process is different. If you're using React or Next.js, you can just grab all of the files, add them to a zip, and upload them to Hostinger. If you're building an HTML website like what I'm doing, simply create a new folder, call this public HTML. Then we can grab all the files relevant to our project, like the CSS, images, JavaScript, contact, index, menu, and let's add those to this folder. Then let's right-click on public HTML. Let's compress this to a zip file, like so, and let's add that to Hostinger. Let's click Next. Let's submit this request. And now the migration is complete. So we get this URL. And if we open this up, we can now access this website from anywhere. Now, of course, if you assigned a custom domain, you can enter that domain to access your website. Maintaining the website is really easy as well. Whenever you make any changes to the project, you'll just add the changes to that zip file, go back to your website, click on Migrate, then just click on Migrate Website again, and go through this exact same process again, and that will upload all the new changes. I hope you found this video useful. The trick with working with these local models is to give it a harness that's lean enough to get good results. Please let me know down in the comments if you've got any questions. Also consider subscribing to my channel for more agentic coding tutorials. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.